And then we went, oh, hey, it worked. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 61 of Word Ninjas Live. We are coming to you tonight with another special guest interview. This time round is Justine Schofield from Pubslush.
Hello, everybody. Very happy I could be here tonight.
We're glad that you could join us and that your schedule worked out after we changed everything around on you.
I'm flexible, not a problem.
And as I forgot to mention, I am Charles, your instigator of literary productivity and insanity and whatever else is needed at the time. And our regular co-hosts, we pretty much have the full crew tonight. Will.
Hello.
Justin.
I too am here.
And Calvin.
Hello.
Ed is not joining us because he is being responsible and working. But everyone else is here, so we're going to have a show. And as we do, we're going to kick things off with an interview. And as we mentioned, Justine is from an organization called Pubslush. Now, for those of you that have not heard of it before, let's find out, what is Pubslush all about?
Right. So Pubslush is actually a pre-publication platform for authors and publishers. We provide them with several different options depending on what their goals and needs are. And it all takes place before they actually publish. So we have one option is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is basically a way that you can raise funds for your publishing project by raising many small amounts of money from a large number of people. Crowdfunding is become very popular. The industry is booming, and we are specialized because we are a niche platform that we focus just on literary and publishing projects. Another option that we have for authors who aren't necessarily interested in raising funds but want to take advantage of all the other benefits of marketing before publication is a pre-order option. This operates in the 30 to 60-day window before publication, and it's basically a way that authors and publishers can sell books before the release date. Basically, it's a way for them to really market their book, drive traffic to their book, and talk about their book all before it's published. So you're building that momentum that's needed that, day one when your book's released, if you already have X amount of readers, you're kind of ahead in the book market. And then we also recently developed another option which just allows any published author to come on our platform and create a for sale page for their book. And it's an absolutely free option, and it basically just is a way for you to be discovered by our readers and hopefully drive traffic to the sale of your book as well.
I'm still muted. There we go. I keep forgetting that.
Oh, sorry. I couldn't hear you for a second there.
Yeah, I had the mute button on.
Okay.
I keep forgetting that that's a thing.
I can hear you now, so.
Hooray. One of these days I'll remember that stupid thing.
I'll just wave next time, so you know.
I think the others have gotten kind of used to it at this point.
Yeah, good thing there's not a red blinking light when it's on mute.
Yeah.
They should really install one.
Talk to Google about that. So that's kind of the rundown of the basics of Pubslush. So, we basically operate before authors publish. We also, authors who do use our platform in the pre-publication phase remain part of our community and are automatically switched to that for sale page I discussed. So when you actually do publish, our readers can, if they find your project after the crowdfunding or pre-order campaign is over, they can still be driven to where your book's being sold and buy your book and discover your book that way.
Cool. And the next question we had up was, what are some of your more memorable or noteworthy experiences while working at Pubslush? Because it sounds like a pretty interesting job.
So this is a good one, actually. We have been a company for 3 years now, and I've been working for Pubslush since the beginning. And so we were a vastly different platform originally. Our original model was more of a crowdsourcing model where in the end we were the publisher. So it was, books that were able to garner X amount of readers, we would actually acquire and publish. We found this model was really restricting to us, and it wasn't necessarily what the industry needed at this point in time. We wanted to open our doors to work with, other publishers, other industry professionals, and a platform where we were the publisher is really restricting to that. So in July of 2012, we revamped our platform to be the crowdfunding platform it is now. So we have a lot of independent authors that come to us to raise funds for their publishing project. We actually have pages dedicated to publishers where they can kind of create a community around their books and use either the crowdfunding or the pre-order options to employ that pre-publication marketing. We work with industry professionals. We kind of are working to build a community and bridge the gap between all the key industry players. And so our pre-order option is actually a new option as well that we just came out with this month. So we're very excited about that. So it's kind of, I think just the whole concept of being in such a changing industry and being with a platform that we're kind of paving the way. Not many other platforms offer what we offer, and we're really able to work one-on-one with our authors, provide them with personalized service, really ensure that they have all the tools they need to succeed, not only on our platform, but in the industry in general. And just kind of being a part of an evolving platform that really is seeking out to be that go-to place and trying to find the holes in the industry, perhaps before other people even know that they're there, and adapting in order to fill those needs. It's a really, really exciting job, and I think publishing in general is a really exciting industry to be in. And so the whole, I think I might be deviating from the question, but I just think that the whole experience that I've had working at Pubslush has been great. And, we take feedback from authors and publishers very seriously. We continue to grow. We continue to provide them with services that we think are very valuable to them. And it's just, it's nice to be kind of that platform where we're helping other.
I'm going to ask for just a quick pause. My audio is cutting out. Is that just on my end or anyone else's?
I'm getting it too.
Same here.
Okay.
Yeah, let's let Google catch up on their server side. I thought it was my Skype usage and bandwidth issues. I'm going to quit Skype and hopefully open that up.
Every once in a while, Google gets a little tired. Just needs a second to catch up.
It's been a long day for Google. I mean, it's a Wednesday.
We were just talking about that before. We're getting over the hump today.
I barely got over it today.
Well, you're here. You made it, so
Yes.
that's a plus.
Everything's coming back clear on my end.
Yep, looks like we're good for now.
Yay.
I listened to a couple other podcasts that are through Google Plus, and they have all the same issues that we have. So
Not just us.
it's a platform problem, not a quality problem.
So you need me to recap what I said? Was it coming through fuzzy or?
I personally missed the last sentence or two from what you said.
Oh boy, this is a test. I believe what I was saying was how Pubslush we're very hands-on, and we've had a lot of experiences with authors who come to us maybe not quite knowing what they're doing or not unsure if Pubslush is the right platform for them, or unsure of how to exactly execute their campaign with Pubslush, and by the end they're like super successful and really feeling confident about their book and moving forward at lightning speed, and being able to help that transition between like kind of confused and not knowing where to go to having a really solid understanding of your audience, and having sold books and moving into the publication phase with more confidence in yourself and your book, and being a part of that transition and that process is also something really, really cool that we're lucky enough to experience weekly with our authors. So it's great to be that, kind of that turning point in the publishing process for them, where we can help them transition from, not being sure what the next step is to like solidly knowing this is where I'm going. This is my publishing path, and it's really cool to be a part of that.
How much has your social community grown in the last couple of years?
Oh, it's grown a lot. I would say even in the past year, since the beginning of 2014, I think we've seen the most growth. We just broke 10,000 followers on Twitter, which was like, we were all jumping up and down in the office. It was actually probably really embarrassing. But our page views have grown exponentially, and the members of our community continue to really, really grow rapidly. And everything that we're doing, we do organically, which I think is why every milestone is so big to me and my team, because it's all work that we've done, and made the connections in the industry, and we have put in the work to see those numbers grow, and they continue to grow really quickly. Our community is growing fast, so it's an exciting time.
How do your patrons have any access to communicating with the authors specifically?
Absolutely. Every campaign page, and the same is true for our partner or publisher pages, have an engage wall, and we're actually working on the functionality of that to make it even more engaging, if you will. But yeah, you can talk to the author can talk back to you. We're putting in functionality where you'll get notifications when there's new things on the engage wall and things of that nature, but you can absolutely correspond with the author. I think that's one of the biggest benefits of our platform, is in the traditional marketplace, there's really no way for the author and reader to communicate. Social media, of course, is a great tool, but in regards to the actual interaction and book buying, there's no interaction between the author or the publisher and the reader in that instance. And so we're kind of working to bridge the gap and to get that engagement going before publication, to get the readers talking to the author, and vice versa, have the authors communicating with the readers, who are in essence their early readers and probably their biggest supporters. So we think that engagement and keeping an open flow of conversation is very important.
Now, I've been on the internet a lot, and I know that there are some people on the internet who aren't very nice. Do you have any sort of moderation control over the communication? Is it publicly displayed, and does the author have any, or do you guys go in and take out some obvious trolling comments or anything to that effect?
Well, we have been very lucky in the fact that we haven't had that be an issue yet on our platform. Generally our platform is very supportive, and a lot of the traffic being driven to the pages are originally traffic that's being driven by the author. It's kind of when an author creates a campaign, they're driving their own traffic there to build the momentum, and then once there's funding on their page and a lot of supporters, that's when other people maybe outside their network that don't know the author gravitate towards the campaign, because they're attracted by this campaign is almost 100% funded, I want to be a part of this creation process too. So it's usually at that point where you tend to get outside supporters. And I think that the whole crowdfunding concept, it's based on community, it's based on having a mutual interest. The supporters love being a part of the creation process and supporting up and coming, whether it's authors on our platform or inventors or producers, things of that nature on other platforms. Generally, I think it's a really positive vibe. Should there be any negative comments, we would absolutely tend to that. We don't want any negativity on our platform, and if it was something that was bringing down morale of the page, I think we would absolutely remove it. But again, I think that crowdfunding in general, the community that we're building, is a supportive one, and hopefully we won't have to deal with that.
Well, it sounds like so far you haven't had to deal with that, so that's good news for you guys.
Hopefully that will continue.
No ideas,
but
listeners.
yeah, we only allow nice comments on Pubslush, supportive, positive. We do accept constructive criticism, but only if everyone is okay with it.
What has the reception been from other people in the industry? rather than just raffles?
Yeah, everyone's been really excited. Like I said, since we kind of revamped our platform and we've opened our doors to work with more players in the industry, people have been really excited. And I think that as crowdfunding in general continues to trend and rise and people become more familiar with it, I think that that reaction and that acceptance of it, because there are people who are still have a little bit of adversity towards crowdfunding for whatever reason it might be, if they don't want to seem like they need the money or things of that nature, which I will kind of put my 2 cents in on that and say that it's not charity when you crowdfund. It's reward based, and that means that you offer items of value in return to your supporters' pledge. So it's in no way that you're asking them for money or to donate to your book, because many times they receive your book plus even more in exchange for your financial pledge. So that was a stigma that was around at first, and I think that that's slowly fading away as crowdfunding is being verified as not only a way to say raise funds for your book, but like I said, it's also the pre-orders, it's the marketing, it's getting to know and engaging with your readers, which is really important. And so as crowdfunding continues to trend and rise, I really think that we're going to be able to start working with even more people in the industry. And that's also why we're doing things like rolling out this pre-order platform and the for sale pages, because we want to open our doors to really work with everybody, from the small publisher to the big publisher. We want them to have a place in our community. And so far, the reception has been very, very good, very positive. I think that we're working to make the publishing industry more democratic and harmonious between all key players, and I think that a lot of people really recognize and appreciate that. And in an industry that's changing so quickly, I think people are definitely looking for what's the next thing that's going to help me, and I think that we are that for a lot of people. So
yeah, it seems that the shift from traditional publishing, from like the big 3 or 4, whatever they happen to be at the time,
however many there are,
yeah, that seems to be no longer as relevant as it used to be. So people are going more towards the independent and smaller publishers. So
absolutely, and I think that there was a big stigma against self-publishing for a while, but I also think that was because traditional publishing had been around for so long, and people had it set in their mind that if you want to be an author, you have to be traditionally published. And as more people are choosing to self-publish, maybe even well-known authors, and as more self-publishing titles are gaining traction in the market, I think that's melting away. And the other issue with self-publishing was, the money was coming out of authors' pockets, and a lot of authors don't have the funds to produce high-quality work, and that's why they were being judged as lesser than a traditionally published book just by appearances alone. Obviously, we do judge books by their cover and everything else about them, and if the independently published books didn't look like the traditional ones, they were definitely judged. But our platform is trying to provide a solution to that. The author can raise the funding to produce a very high quality book before it comes out of their pocket, so they're actually at an advantage now, and we have had some beautiful, beautiful books produced by our authors independently, and so the books that could be better than the traditionally published ones, honestly. So I think that that's also helping to break the stigma of the self-publishing authors are of a lesser grade, and we all know that's not true. And so luckily our platform is helping to give them the resources they need to be able to publish high quality books.
yeah, I think that's something that we would have utilized and appreciated a couple of years ago when we self-published our book. It would have been nice to have some fundraising for an actual cover artist, or getting another extra set of eyes on it for proofreading or copy editing purposes. Doing it all ourselves on a shoestring budget, it's not advisable.
Yeah, and I just think, you guys know as writers how much time and effort you put into your book. So being able to put the same amount of time and effort and TLC, if you will, into the production of the book, I think is really important, and a lot of, it's something that a lot of authors don't have access to without help, and so that's where we come in.
That's kind of a good segue into the next question on the list. What are some do's and don'ts when submitting or marketing a book to the public?
Okay. So this is a very loaded question. I would say that whether or not you choose to use a platform like Pubslush and use the crowdfunding and the pre-order and the pre-publication phase, or you skip that and just publish, it's kind of, you need to have the same steps in place to do either one. One of the big things is building your audience, especially if you're an independent author. That's, I mean, to a certain extent, even if you're traditionally published, if you're going to be picked up by a traditional house, you kind of have to do this anyways, because they're looking for someone with a built-in audience. But building your audience before you publish is essential, because if you publish with no audience, there's a good chance no one's going to, buy your book, because you don't have that network to rally around, that network to drive traffic to your book, whether it's on Amazon or on a pre-publication platform. You need to bring your audience to your book, and you need to get those reviews up there. You need to get people talking about it, and if you're not able to do that, it's really difficult for your book to stand out. There's close to, I think it's close to 1 million books published in the U.S. alone every year. So you need to really think about what makes your book different, and you need to think about who your book is for, and you need to create a connection with them. And you need to create an organic connection with them. Just, say, if you're on Twitter, just tweeting at people like, check out my book. I mean, what's in it for them? Nothing. They're not going to just click on the link and check out your book because you say to. If you actually have a connection with a person, say, whether it's you provide them with valuable content on a daily basis and they get to know you as that information provider via social media, or if you have a really great blog and you build a following with them, then those people have a connection with you. So when the time comes and you're blasting out to people to check out your book, they'll actually have a reason to. So giving people a reason and a connection to you, I think, is really, really important. So when the time comes that you do want to drive readers to your book, you'll actually have readers there in place. So I would not publish your book too soon. I think a lot of writers, when they are done with the writing process, are so eager to publish that they just do it. And I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that we see. You need to really critically sit down and think about your marketing plan, think about your audience building, and be at that place where you have a momentum going when you choose to publish your book. Without that audience or without that momentum, it's really very hard to stand out in the market.
Yeah, we've experienced that with not building the momentum first or having a plan. Flailing around in circles is not a plan. But
Well, I think that the release date of your book, I mean, it's not as important as it used to be in traditional terms, but it's still a really big opportunity for you to make a splash in the market. I mean, you can hype up the release of your book, but once your book has been out for a while, it's a little harder to recreate that initial, importance and that, urgency of, this is my book's release today. Like, there's an excitement built around that. Trying to promote your book however long in, I mean, it's still very important. But if you're trying to bring the audience to the book when it's already been out for a while, you really missed out on that opportunity and that urgency of, my book's coming out today. That's a great way to start building your buzz and getting people talking. Not to say that it can't be done. You can build your audience post-publication, but it's a lot easier and it makes a lot more sense if you're able to do it before.
yeah, definitely. And it's an easy talking point to start a conversation compared
Yes.
to, oh yeah, my book has been out for 3-4 years now, but it's still interesting.
You can always rebrand your book and do another release. But yeah, that's kind of why we're really working to kind of prevent that impulse publishing, if you will, and to kind of move the emphasis of thinking about all of these factors to the pre-publication phase, to get authors to really think about what they have to offer, who their audience is, how they're going to connect with them, and even like the book buying aspect of it with the pre-orders, move that to the pre-publication phase to help get authors out there, get get them readers and to build that momentum. So we're just kind of trying to shift the way of thinking a little bit, to be more emphasized before you publish and less, publish, and more how can I make the most of publishing.
Now, we learned off-air beforehand that you're also a fellow writer and a survivor of an MFA program. So, as we ask all of our guests, what advice to fellow writers in regards to writing, submitting, or just getting published would you give them?
Well, I think I kind of might have talked around this point already, but I would definitely just, whether you're publishing independently or you're choosing to pursue the traditional route and you're looking to entice an agent or a publisher, no matter what route you're taking, I think that it's definitely important that you treat your book like a business. I think no matter what, even if you're seeking out a traditional publisher, you still have to pitch it to them and sell it to them. And so once you're done writing and you're done with that phase, try really hard to take your writer hat or shoes or pants or whatever it is off and start thinking about your book more in a business mindset. And that is kind of what I was just talking about is, who is your audience? What do you have to offer them, and how are you going to entice them? If you literally think about your book like you're opening a business and take those steps, I think that it is very similar. So if you can kind of, I don't think I made up this word. I can't really take credit for it, but somebody else made up this word, and I love it. But you have to be an authorpreneur. You have to be an author, and you have to be an entrepreneur. And like I said, I think this is true because even if you are seeking out a traditional publisher, they aren't going to just pick up a first-time author because it's just too risky. And they would rather pick up an author that already has that marketability, already has that audience that they can bring, to the book. And so no matter what the route is that you're taking, I think that this is a very important step, and this is something that is a downfall of a lot of authors. And, it's a lot of authors just want to write and not have to deal with that aspect of things, and I think that is absolutely great. I'm not planning on publishing anything anytime soon myself, so that's also an option. But I think that if you really want your book to be read by a wide audience, that's the biggest step that you have to do. And be your biggest fan, because in the process of building your audience and promoting your book, if you don't talk about it, if you don't show the passion behind your book, it's gonna be really hard to get other people to talk about it and be passionate about it. We find that on our platform, the most successful projects are from people who are very passionate. It's like their passion for their project and their book is contagious, and that's when we find other people really rally around it and share it with their network and drive, their network that might not even know the author to the book page and get them to support it as well. Passion and excitement is contagious. So when you're talking about your book, don't put your, it's the best book ever. That's what you have to tell yourself. Not to say that it's not. It might be. But you really have to just, don't blatantly promote it like this is the best book ever, but just, be passionate about it, and other people will catch on to that.
I think the biggest point that you made is treating it like a business. When you're at the publishing / trying to make money off of your craft, you really have to think like an entrepreneur, especially in this semi to overly saturated market, and not just being an author. In most fields where you're just trying to do something on your own or with a couple people, you see a lot of this with independent game companies and crowdfunding movies and documentaries and stuff. You have to put on your business hat, and I think that's great advice.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I agree with the being passionate about your book and trying to convey that to others. I think that's when we were most effective with our book, because it was fresh and it was new and we were passionate about it. But now it's kind of just become, yeah, we have it. It's there. The shine is kind of worn off, so we're not as openly passionate about it. So it's not always conveyed as much. So maybe try and keep up your passion when talking about it as well.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of a funny point too, because I think that authors put so much emphasis on publishing their book again that they don't realize your book's going to be around forever, and that kind of means you have to continue to promote it. I mean, hopefully your book will, if you build that momentum, it will kind of take on a life of its own. But you still have to be that that author that however you branded yourself and however you built your audience, you have to continue to do that and to maintain your brand as an author, if you will. I mean, if you've made connections with people prior to publishing in hopes that they will in turn be your audience and your readers, you can't just kind of drop off afterwards, because that's very, I mean, it's kind of a slap in the face that you built this connection with those people, and they became your readers, and then you all of a sudden disappeared or stopped talking to them about whatever it was that you built that connection about in the first place. So you kind of have to maintain that authorness, even if you're tired of talking about your book or tired of being that kind of go-to person. That's who you've branded yourself to your readers, and I think it's important to maybe not maintain it with the intensity of during when you're actually releasing your book, but definitely maintain it. Maintain your connection with your readers. Most authors publish multiple books, so you want them to be continued readers and readers that will return for book 2 and book 3, and hopefully readers that are invested enough to share your book with their audience as well. So it's kind of like a full-time job. On top of your full-time job you probably already have. So it's a lot of work, but I think that it can definitely pay off.
Yeah, definitely. No one can have too many full-time jobs when you're a writer.
Right? Who needs to sleep?
The listeners of this podcast know my woes.
The last question we have on the list is, where can viewers and listeners learn more about your organization, and if there's any upcoming events or anything else you'd like to promote?
Okay. Well, you can definitely check out our website, of course. It is www.pubslush.com. That's Pubslush. You can get in touch with me directly. My name is Justine Schofield. You can either look me up on LinkedIn or send me an email. My email is super simple, justine@pubslush.com. I'm always happy to chat, to answer any questions. Like I said, we're very hands-on, so I'm very accessible. So that's a great way to get in touch. You can follow us on Twitter. We're at Pubslush, Facebook.com/Pubslush. Basically, just type Pubslush into the search engine, and you'll find all of our social media sites, our real site, all that good stuff. And like I said, we're very accessible, so you can reach out to us through any of those outlets, and we'll respond.
Great. I hope that all of our viewers and listeners reach out to you. Just not all at once.
Yeah, I'm not a very good juggler, but I will respond eventually.
And that wraps up our interview for the evening. Thank you for taking the time to join us and answer all of our questions.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really happy that I had the chance to chat. You guys are all great, and if you or anyone in your audience needs anything, has any questions, just wants to say hello, definitely get in touch. But thank you very much for having me.
And now it's time for our next segment, if my window moves. There we go. All right, we have some talking points this week, and I'm not the leader of the first one. First one goes to Will.
Yeah, that does. All right, so I suppose I'll screen share the story. It sounds like a good plan, right?
Sounds good to me.
Go wrong.
Oh.
Screen share. Screen share. Screen share. Share. Is that
There we
sharing?
go. Yep.
All right. So it came to my attention. I thought this was interesting. A school district in Denver, Colorado, had proposed a kind of I don't know exactly what you want to call it, a change to their curriculum that would, mostly their history classes, that would promote the education of citizenship, patriotism, and respect for authority, while downplaying things like civil disobedience and the like. And most of the students countered this by protesting the school, and even a lot of teachers just called in sick that day as their own personal protest. And I found it kind of interesting, kind of as a follow-up to Banned Book Week, since that's what we had last week.
Mm-hmm.
That was last week, right?
Yes.
And now we're talking about essentially what sounds like the censorship of American history in American history classes.
What could go wrong with that?
Especially the part that downplays anything that condones civil disorder, social strikes, things like that. Stuff that, last time I checked, is how this country was formed and founded, considering, we started out by protesting England, and then when they didn't respond to that, then war broke out. But it started with protesting.
Just a little protest here and there.
Yeah,
Nothing too big.
Just some. It was a nice tea party.
Everybody likes tea.
Everybody likes tea. So I wanted to bring it to attention and see what we thought about possibly censoring American history in American schools. Could it be done good? Well, is it just a horribly bad idea?
Well, I think it's already being done and has been done for a long time now. I mean, at least when I went to school, we all talked about how great Columbus was,
Mm-hmm.
how he discovered America, and we all heard the stories about
Pilgrims and Native Americans?
Yep, Pilgrims, Native Americans. I'm having a brain fart. Who's the guy that Paul Revere, that whole story.
Mm.
And then you leave your schooling and you go look it up yourself and you realize it was all bullshit. Nothing you learned was true.
Yeah.
It was all garbage, especially in regards to American history.
I remember one of the first history classes in college I took. The teacher said, "Forget everything you learned in before this. It was a lie."
Yeah.
But to outright, blatantly state that you're going to, what did they say? Promoting.
The exact quote here is, let's see, it's in this paragraph here. It would establish a committee to regularly review texts and course plans, starting with advanced placement history, to make sure materials, quote, promote citizenship, patriotism, essentials and benefits of the free market system, respect for authority, and respect for individual rights, and don't, quote, encourage or condone civil disorder, social strike, or disregard of the law.
Wow. I'm just impressed that they blatantly went out and said all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And not just went ahead and did it, like, quietly. Like, oh, we're not going to teach, this particular topic this year. We're going to teach this other topic. I'm just shocked that they openly admitted they were doing all these things. Because I'm sure they're not the first school who's done this.
No, I think somewhere in here, in one of the other articles I saw, because the show notes has a link to this article and then the original article I found, which also links to this article, that there might have been another school district. I think it was out in Colorado also, or in that area. Oh no, it's actually here, South Carolina. Here we go. Tension over high school education has cropped up recently in Texas, where conservative school board officials are facing criticism over new textbooks. Meanwhile, in South Carolina, conservatives have called on an education oversight committee to ask the College Board, who oversees advanced placement courses, to rewrite their framework to make sure there is no ideological bias.
Mm-hmm.
What did they expect the reaction was going to be when they made these decisions?
Probably not civil disobedience.
Yeah. We're going to remove all instances of civil disobedience from American history. Obviously, our students aren't going to protest.
Why would they do that?
Yeah, so in response,
there was a chick, right? Her name was Rosa Parks. Shh. No. We can't. No. Quiet. She never existed.
He quietly rode on a bus, no big deal.
There was literally no problems.
Everything was fine.
I mean, I understand that there's kind of a law of history is written by the victors, but that's becoming a lot harder to just ignore everything else with the digital era. Especially when there's that much history that the victors are trying to rewrite.
Yeah. There's a quote here from one of the conservative members trying to move this proposal forward. There are things we may not be proud of as Americans, but we shouldn't be encouraging our kids to think that America is a bad place. So we're going to ignore parts of our history just to make our kids think that America is great. That's my translation of that quote.
Like I said, we already do that a lot, but this seems like a step well beyond their rights as a group of people.
This isn't subtly changing something. This is blatantly calling it out and saying, we're going to do this.
I'm actually kind of surprised that they even have the power or ability to do such a thing.
I guess if it's for their own school district, they can. Because all school districts have their own school board that controls the material within their district. So they can do whatever they want in their district, and if they want to create a committee to review and change course material, they can attempt to. It has to be voted on by the entire committee, and so far as of this article, it has not been voted on yet.
Now I'm kind of curious about what are the limitations of the Common Core education program? Like, how would that affect these types of efforts?
Yeah, here they said they're doing it by starting with advanced placement history, but I'm sure their plan is to branch out into all forms of at least history.
Advanced placement history should be the most accurate form of the history, because you're using that as preparation to go to college, theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, when I took advanced placement,
a good third of American history, that's going to be a problem.
I remember when I took advanced placement courses in high school, they told me these are basically like low-level college-level classes, like freshman-level college classes you're taking right now. So you would think they would be the most inclusive of actual history without cutting anything out.
Apparently not.
Especially once you get into the colleges, if they're privately funded, they don't cut anything out. As we said, they cover history as it is, and the school board for a public school system can't change what a college teaches, especially a private institution.
Man, I don't know what their plan is. Hopefully it gets voted out immediately.
Well, with all this protesting, it very likely could be. Like I said, not only the students, but the teachers protested. The students got out in the streets with signs and picket signs and all that. One quote from a sign here is, "There is nothing more patriotic than protest." And many of the teachers that taught in the school called out, putting basically a 2-day shutdown on education and classes for the entire district as their way of protesting this potential change.
I would think that would send a pretty clear statement of how people feel about these silly people's efforts to change things.
But it is a primarily conservative committee, and we all know how stubborn some conservative committees can be. Not always, of course. Not always, but sometimes they can be pretty stubborn.
Unfortunately, there are some negative stereotypes for such groups, and these people are kind of leading the charge on those negative stereotypes.
But basically, what it sounds like, and at least how the students are taking it, they're trying to censor education. And they don't want their education censored any more than it already is.
Yeah. Well, good on them for learning about it and acting on it.
Indeed. If you want to know more, again, the links should be in the show notes.
Yep, both links that you provided are on in the show notes, posted on the website, fcwriters.com. It's on the homepage even for this episode.
Fight for your right to learn your education and know your history.
These kids are true patriots.
Civilly fight. Civil disobedience.
I actually have a question for the crew in regards to this one and how education has, for some, been a little wonky. I want to know how many people know the date of when slavery was abolished in America.
I was never good at remembering dates. That was my one weak spot in history.
That was one of many weak spots for me, but just give me like a ballpark range of like how many tens of years or hundreds of years.
Officially 100% kicked out?
Like the official, generally observed year. Like how long ago was it?
Something to look for. Let's see. Columbus sailed the ocean blue, 1492. Declaration of Independence was 1776. It was probably after that.
It was...
Civil War was in the 1800s.
It was after the Civil War.
I have to assume like 1860s, 1870s.
Right.
I bet it creeps into the 1900s more than we're willing to believe, and we're gonna get shocked. We're gonna be shocked by CJ's answer. 2008.
Well, with recent events, it certainly doesn't feel like it was fully abolished. But
yeah. All right, Calvin has given his years. How about everyone else? Just toss out a number or a year or a range.
It's definitely got to be close to 1900.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean. Let's see, Roaring Twenties was probably before that. So let's say I'm gonna throw out 1890 because but I wouldn't be surprised to find out that it was like 19 something.
All right. I'll just toss in my perspective then on it before I looked up the actual date. I thought it was about 200, 250 years ago. It was 1865. So Calvin was the closest. Which is effectively, what, about 150 years? Give or take.
Something like that.
Yeah, just a couple generations.
Of course, that was when they abolished slavery, but then all the Jim Crow laws came up.
Right.
Yeah, that wasn't the end of the strife of minorities.
The reason I was able to give like such a close ballpark figure was because
you paid attention in school.
No, you're actually gonna appreciate this. My grandmother's grandmother, who I had the pleasure of knowing like early on in my life, was born in 1889. She was the first generation not born into slavery.
Oh wow!
Nice.
That's cheating.
I believe that would be your great-great-grandmother.
Yes.
Very cool.
But I mean, just little facts like that. How would changes in the education program either warp that concept of how long ago it was or what happened and stuff like that.
We never put Asians in concentration camps. That was
No.
no.
Certainly didn't force them to build the Transcontinental Railroad on almost no pay.
Nah.
To be fair, we did need that railroad.
There was none of that Irish need not apply stuff going on. That never happened.
Oh, of course not.
And how are we supposed to know that all those quilts we gave the Native Americans had smallpox in it? Oops.
Our science was only so good back then. How could we test them?
And of course, Indians and Pilgrims always got along. No one ever got
Well, they had
beheaded,
that big dinner.
flayed open, and displayed on beaches. Raping,
And-
pillaging. I mean,
All
that's-
those Africans volunteered to come on the boats and come over to the States to pick cotton for free. Obviously.
Of course, by their own free will.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I know about the Native Americans and Thanksgiving is from Adam's Family Values.
I learned it all from South Park, What With the Aliens.
All right. Considering Justin's semi-impatient glare at us, I think it's time for his talking point.
No, that's fine. Yeah, so I've been playing a little bit of video games lately, trying to cool off after really ridiculously hard days at work. And I've been finding myself playing a lot of story-driven games. And more specifically, especially recently, I've been playing more open-world sandbox-type games where I'm creating my own stories within the game. Most recently, I've been playing, I don't know if you guys have heard the new Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor game.
Yep.
Was released yesterday.
Heard of it.
The day before. I just got it, and it is pretty amazing. And you can go online and find lots of reviews on it, so I'm not going to go wax poetic about it. But that's an open world game where the story progresses organically, and it's not a set linear story path. And I was thinking about this and thinking about what games that I like to play, and I was thinking about, what sort of stories I like from games, and, I was thinking of, very famous, more recent stuff like The Last of Us had a world-renowned story, but I kind of wanted to talk about making your own story within the confines of a video game. And I was thinking of things like Minecraft. I was dabbling with The Sims 2 in more recent months, generating my own story, trying to, ant farm it up as much as possible. And then it kind of got out of control, and I started intervening a little bit too much, so I have to reset the game, basically. It got too weird. And I've been playing Guild Wars 2 as well, and I set up something online where I have a bunch of pen pals, where we, instead of actively RPing because we're all, largely adults with full-time jobs and we don't get to play all that often, we're sending messages through the in-game mail about our adventures. So we'll go play, and then role-playing style, we'll send a message to the people and be like, oh, hey, so this is what I did today, and can you believe those dragons? I know, right? And we'll just go back and forth like that. So I kind of wanted to see if you guys had ever done that with any video games, creating your own story and getting into your own sort of adventures outside of what the story quests were driving you to do.
EverQuest.
Huh.
I did that all the time in EverQuest because built-in storyline, if it was there, you couldn't find it. NPCs didn't have those nice little exclamation marks over their head saying, here, I have a quest. No, you had to engage NPCs in long-winded conversations to figure out if they wanted you to do anything. So usually I just made my own story.
I've done that in most RPG games out there, mainly because I like to do all of the side quests and just wander around as much as I can. So Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas are definitely big ones for me, because the main storylines I have never finished. I'm too busy just wandering the wastelands, trying not
Do
to
you
be
have
murdered.
a specific character with specific, attributes and moral compass? Like, do you basically have a character sheet in your brain about your character that you play in, like, Fallout?
Yes.
Okay. I do the same thing. I did and I should get back into this, and maybe I'll do this for one of the Let's Plays that we're going to do in the future, but I had
Spoilers.
basically a Clint Eastwood character
Hmm.
in the Fallout world, and he would only shoot handguns and revolvers where I could find them. And I believe one, if not both of the games, don't actually have revolvers, so I think I had to mod them in somehow.
There are revolvers in there, but I don't remember them being that great.
Yeah, so I think I had to put in a mod or two. But, I had a picture on one monitor of Clint Eastwood, and I'm trying to model the character's face. The face that you literally never see throughout the entire gaming process, but it's always over the shoulder, first person.
Yeah.
But he did wear a hat, and he did wear a Mexican woven blanket shawl.
And my characters were generally riflemen, or riflewomen, usually, actually. And I always tried to max out the hacking abilities, or lockpicking, or whatever was applicable for the game. And semi-stealthy, semi-long range, usually a pretty solid moral compass. Because I always felt bad when I went down the evil quest lines.
And yet you're breaking into everyone's shit.
So I was a complete kleptomaniac.
But a perfect moral compass.
Well,
Sounds like when I played Fable 1.
in New Vegas, that was easy, because you start things off being shot in the head. So, hey,
That's true.
brain trauma.
Oh, brief question for Will, since he brought it up. Should I get Fable Anniversary Edition, the original Fable game? Does the story hold up? I heard it's still the best of the series?
I'm going to agree that it is the best of the series for story and gameplay. I've played all three Fables, and the first one was definitely the best, definitely with story. Story was really good. Gameplay was very different. If you've played Fable, did you play 2 and 3?
I haven't played any of the Fables yet.
Okay, yeah. Then I won't even go into comparing the gameplay. The story, I would say Fable 1 had the best story. Fable 2 also has a really good story. They got kind of lost on making the good choices, evil choices reflect in the real world. Like Fable 1, you could kind of feel like your decisions had an impact, but mostly it was just people, whether they liked you or ran away from you when you walked into town. Fable 2 also does that, but the story was still really good. I loved the ending. And then Fable 3, I think, just... No. I mean, it's worth playing, but the ending was kind of a letdown to me personally. But Fable Anniversary, definitely, especially considering, if I remember right, it includes the Lost Chapters DLC built in. So you'll get the full game. And Fable 1 was the only one where the DLC actually continued the story. It wasn't just side quest stuff.
And a little minor graphics boost and a little minor texture, cell shading, shadow.
Yeah. But it actually added a new location, and you were still going after the same boss. It continued on past the original gameplay. Whereas in Fable 2 and Fable 3, the DLC stuff was like, oh, here's another little side area. If you're bored, go for it. It has no consequences whatsoever. But hey, you might get a shiny new hammer.
Sounds like the Diablo 3 expansions versus the
Diablo 2 expansion?
No, I'm thinking of the game that's really hard and you always die.
Dark Souls?
Dark Souls, yes. The Dark Souls DLC is a lot of, hey, here's this other little area that you can do, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised no one's mentioned it yet, but what about Skyrim? Or any other Elder Scrolls games?
I always play my own story in that one. That one's fun to create your own. I don't know about make your own story, but you can definitely create your own character based when they give you so many options for how to complete all the side quests about, do you want to do it this way or this way? Do you want to help this guy or murder him and take all his stuff?
Or help him and then murder him.
Yeah, you know, done that too. Your stuff. Now I'm going to kill you and take your stuff.
Now, what about forced storytelling that you apply to a game where it's largely not appropriate and has no effect on the gameplay? Like, do you ever role play playing Civilization 5 where you try to do everything exactly the way that leader would, or can't think of any other examples off the top of my head. But have you ever like applied your RPG creativeness to another game where it largely had no impact whatsoever?
Minecraft?
Nah. Spore, maybe. The later stages of Spore where you basically play a variant of Civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And you could choose completely how to take over other cities one of three ways. And, you know, if you played by the rules of the game, some cities were easier to take over certain ways than others. And I would be like, no, I'm going to take over all cities this one way. I don't care how hard it is. I'm going to go the religious route and just continue just raining pamphlets on their city until they concede. I believe that was one of the ways to do it. You literally just had planes fly over enemy cities and drop pamphlets to try and convert them to your ways. And you kept doing that until they were finally like, all right, we give up. You've convinced us. I don't know if that's really what you meant, Justin, but I've never played any of the real Civilization games.
No, it was an open-ended, multifaceted question.
Mm-hmm.
I've been satisfied by this discussion.
Has anyone...
That's not a subtle hint, CJ. That was just a comment.
Oh. I was just going to ask, has anyone played the Mass Effect trilogy at all?
1 and 2.
I played the first one a little bit, but I just couldn't get over the combat and how horrendous it was.
It was bad. They definitely fixed it in 2.
But it's a continuation story, so I have to finish the first one first.
Yeah.
I have to get it down with the right characters that I want to get it down with.
That's why I played Mass Effect 1, and that's why I trudged through Assassin's Creed 1. Which was very repetitive and had a brutal combat system, but it's worth it to get to Assassin's Creed 2 or Mass Effect 2. Story-wise.
Mm-hmm. I tried to play The Witcher, but I just couldn't deal with the dated graphics and gameplay. So hopefully The Witcher 2 will deliver. I haven't quite started it yet. I don't
know if Calvin remembers helping me futz around trying to upgrade The Witcher. Remember that, Calvin? Because I got it originally when it first came out, when it was crap. And then they released the Enhanced Edition, which if you already bought the original game, you could download the Enhanced Edition, but you couldn't just download and install the Enhanced Edition. Remember all that work we had to do, Calvin? We had to like break down the installer and pull out specific files and run them in a specific order.
Oh wow, that was for The Witcher?
That was for the Witcher to get the Enhanced Edition upgrade.
I remember that. That's pretty much the only thing I remember about The Witcher.
That one had potential that you could really do your own story, though.
Like, all the games that you guys mentioned, I have not played.
Do you play video games, Calvin?
Calvin, did you ever go on your own adventure in any of the Sonic the Hedgehog games?
I did, actually.
You would walk on top of the loop-de-loops. You wouldn't go through the loop-de-loops.
I know Calvin's big on Sonic.
Yes. Yeah,
Now that I have a controller, I can play
especially
Sonic Generations again.
especially in the Sonic Adventure games where I would get horrendously lost and say, "Screw it, I'm gonna go exploring." Or the parts of Sonic Adventure that were like glitched out and allowed me to like roam parts of the world where you really weren't supposed to go. I think most of the like building my own stories that I've building my own story arcs that I've done in like games that I've played have were because I just got horrendously lost and said, you know what, let's see what's over there. I remember especially doing that with the Half-Life 2 series.
Yes, there are a lot of places you can get to where you're probably not supposed to be, and you can get horrendously lost very easily.
Someday I'll finish Half-Life 1 and actually get to Half-Life 2.
Oh, this is the sky map. I don't think I'm supposed to be here. Why do these buildings not have textures on 2/3 of the side?
Like, my thing with Half-Life 2 was like, why did you guys build these towns so freaking big? Like we're only going through like 1 or 2 sections of it. Like, there's like 5 different 5-6 different sections in these towns. You only get to go through like 2.
Because they could.
Massive set pieces. Most of the buildings were fake and actually not to scale. They were actually like half scale, but put a little bit closer so it looked like it was a larger city than it really was. They did a lot of good Lord of the Rings movie style forced perspective trickery in that game.
Yeah, well, it worked.
Yeah.
I think in the interest of time, we should try and roll into talkie point number 3.
I think you just want to get into your talkie point, because it's your talkie point.
Well, I don't want to skip any of the other segments tonight.
I think this is a conflict of interest, and I think you're pushing an agenda.
Overruled.
Damn it. If only my school hadn't banned civil disobedience.
You're just going to
then I
have
would
to go
know
on
what
your
it
own.
was.
All right. The last talkie point for this episode is what inspires you to be creative, productive, or otherwise attempt something? And this was a topic requested by a viewer earlier this week, so I thought I'd toss it in.
Aha, the true agenda has been revealed.
Yeah, we're just
Pandering
completely
to our
catering
audience.
to our audience. What horrible people we are.
We are literally the worst.
Yeah, it's the best kind of pandering.
Everything inspires me to be creative. Not so much productive, but creative.
So how do you whittle it down from this is a clever idea to I'm actually going to poke it?
Lately, I've actually been tossing ideas off of a friend of mine and seeing how he reacts to them. And usually his reaction is, do it! And then I end up doing the thing.
Oh my.
Creating, being semi-productive. I try to get him to do the same. He's like, boo. But I'm sure, like, I know I've inspired creativity in other people. It wasn't this past year at Kineticon, but the year before I put an idea for a song in Calvin's head. I think it was last year.
Wait, it was oh wait, I remember, it was last year.
It was last year.
Had something to do with food, correct?
Yeah, it had something to do with food. We were going to get food, and someone had, like, dance music playing at one of the booths, and creativity in our own minds happened.
Yes.
9, 5.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I don't really need inspiration to be creative. That largely comes naturally to me. Following through, however, is a daunting task. The issues that I'm having now is most of my creative endeavors require either a financial component, which is something that I don't have. Like, I have this really cool idea for an alarm clock that I won't get into for potential future trademark and copyright and patent stuff. But I kind of need to prototype it before I can really like throw up a Kickstarter. I can't just throw a drawing up on Kickstarter and call it a day. And I should probably patent it before I start throwing the idea out there so that somebody else doesn't first to file it on me. And lawyer fees and blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, everyone's favorite thing, managing time, working 60 hours a week. I'm just so exhausted when I get home. But one thing that I just realized is that most of the time that I have, I spend staring at a bright rectangle, whether it's my phone, the computer at work, the computer at home. I should get a typewriter. I bet I would get more writing done if I had a typewriter. My handwriting is atrocious, so I can't really do that. But I bet a typewriter, and the good thing about a typewriter is that theoretically I could scan it and get some sort of baseline thing that I could then edit digitally, depending on how good the software is. I guess if I use a serif font, which I guess most typewriters, if not all, probably have, it'll probably be easier, but I should get a typewriter.
The 3 that I have, it's just the preset font of whatever the keys are. I don't have an electric one that has the little font ball on it.
No, I want a manual typewriter. I bet I would do more writing like that. I should think about that. But to answer the actual question, I usually try to get into the zone where I literally drop everything and say, okay, for the next 4 hours, honey, leave me alone, don't bother me. I'm going to do whatever I want, and it's going to be cleaning this apartment. And then I'll just spend the next 4 hours just literally doing that. Like, I get into this hyped up, super excited state. And this really works well for manual things and things that don't involve staring blankly at a computer screen. So, like building things and, okay, today is beer brewing day. I'm going to brew all my beer today. Or, I'm going to develop some recipes. Or, I'm going to start tinkering with my Arduino or my breadboarding. All of that I can probably do with that method. Just setting a giant block of time out and just saying, this is what I'm doing. Everyone shut up and leave me alone. Phone's on silent. Internet's off. We're just going to go at it. And that's really the only way I can be productive. Because I get distracted way too easily by bright rectangles that display infinite amounts of information. But yes, I need a typewriter. How much money do I need for a typewriter, CJ?
How much do you have?
I don't want to borrow Tom Hanks's typewriter. I just want to get something like the one that you bring around to events. That's a pretty decent.
The Royal Quiet Deluxe, you can usually track one down for under $100, usually 50 to 60, depending on how well it's held up. The Model O, which is the dirty one, is about the same, but those have not held up as well because I think it's the older model. And then I have a Smith.
I was thinking somewhere to the. I was thinking to the tune of like $200 to $500 would be my price range, I think.
$200 to $500. You might want to go for. Well, that opens up a lot more options. You can get a pretty nice. I'm blanking on the other brands, the ones that I don't have because they're too expensive. eBay, basically, is your best bet.
Well, I love the eBay brand of typewriters.
One thing you'll have to do your research on, though, if you do invest in one, is the ribbon types, because they're not really manufactured anymore. So
yeah, I would have to get like 100 ribbons up front.
There are plenty of resources online to get typewriter ribbons, though.
My Staples carries them.
Typewriter ribbons or
Yep.
the calculator ribbons?
Ribbons. It's under a typewriter section. They have a small section for typewriter stuff.
That is comparatively rare nowadays.
Actually, for a Staples. No offense.
Staples is one of the fewest places.
Next time I go to Staples, which probably won't be very long from now, I'll take a picture of the little typewriter section and show it to you.
Yeah, Staples is one of the few places left that actually caters to that anymore. So
I'm intrigued. And I want a mechanical typewriter, none of that dot matrix printer garbage.
You can borrow.
I want a dot matrix printer. I would just type on the computer.
Lately, I've been writing successfully while watching videos on YouTube.
I can't creatively multitask like that. I try really hard, but then I just lose the thread on one of the things and just hyper focus on the other one.
Yeah,
if I'm listening to a podcast while trying to, God forbid I was typing, but even just playing a video game, even Diablo 3 where you don't have to pay attention at all, you're literally just clicking shit until it dies. I will totally absorb myself in that and not listen to the podcast at all. So you'll be down.
You're not the only one with that. It's hard to multitask with listening to a podcast while doing anything else that requires active thinking. Or at least for myself as well. My latest methods for productivity have been blasting music with minimal lyrics to them. So mostly just instrumental stuff, while just primarily focusing on, okay, this particular thing needs to get done, or else, or I want to work on this thing, or else, and just ignoring everything else.
I do the same thing, but with Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball on repeat.
My latest musical interests have been swing dubstep, which is a thing I did not know existed.
We're going to be talking about electronic music next week.
Everyone has their own preferences and interests, and that's perfectly acceptable. Mine are just better than yours. Although Calvin's are probably better than everyone else's combined.
We'll be all talking about that next week, so that will be one of the talking points.
So yeah, for me it really boils down to I just need to tune everything else out while still having background noise. If there's just pure silence, I can't focus for some reason.
It's deafening.
What about for sleeping?
That is one
of
the.
Do you need white noise, or can you sleep in silence?
That's one of the few frustrating things or activities where I need silence. If there's background noise, I will not fall asleep. My brain will just purely focus on the background noise.
If it's white noise, I can deal with it. But if it's when I stay over at my parents' house, they have ticking clocks. So I literally go around and take out the batteries of every single clock before I go to bed.
My backup method is just putting headphones in, so it tends to muffle most of the background noise.
I don't like to sleep.
Calvin knows that all too well from college.
Unfortunately for me these days, I have to have some sort of noise when I go to sleep because of my ear condition. If I have complete silence, all I hear is the ringing in my ears. And it's loud.
Especially when it's the only thing you're hearing. Your brain will just amplify that to death.
But I've never had a problem going to sleep with noise around me. And I could have TVs, radios, everything around me. I'll still make it to sleep.
There were times I was amazed you were able to fall asleep with all that was going on around you.
Sleep is one of the things I cherish the most in this world. Well, not so much these days, but when I can accomplish it. Did I ever actually give a response to this question?
I forget.
I'm not sure I did.
Maybe.
In case I didn't, it really doesn't take much to inspire some sort of creative endeavor. Okay, computer, do not crash on me. I swear.
What does it take
But,
to be productive?
just closing the door, turning on some music, and just like devoting all of my concentration to that one thing. When it comes to productivity, it's very difficult for me to multitask. Like creativity wise, like anything will inspire me, and a lot of times it has. Like even thinking about being creative, like giving myself scenarios about being creative. Perfect example. The other day, I thought about calling up a friend of mine who is an EDM DJ, and seeing if she was interested in doing a collaboration, because I want to start playing a little more guitar, and I wanted to see if we could get to put our heads together and tinker around with some maybe a trance or a techno track that involves maybe acoustic or electric guitar. I never got around to contacting her because I ended up putting together an idea myself. I will get in touch with her one of these days. See if she might be interested. So, like, honestly, it doesn't take much. It takes exponentially more to actually finish things, though, as you can attest.
You mean we're supposed to finish these things?
Like, I have like several dozen songs in a folder on my computer called music being worked on, or idea. Looking at my music being worked on pile, this makes me sad. Especially when I think about the amount of songs that were going really, really good, and then for some reason the idea stream just like halted for some reason.
Let's see here. Well, you really should get back on that, because I only have 26 of your songs and I need more.
Wait a second, I made it to 26 songs? Jeez, that's pretty good.
26 songs across 4 different albums.
Oh, cool.
Although one of them only has 2 songs in it. But the point stands, I want more.
Hey, you want more? I want more. Shit.
And
Maybe when all the chaos around me starts to subside a little bit, I can get my brain in order and start working on some of these tracks, because most of them were really good.
do it.
Especially the last couple that magically came about. was one where I was playing around with a guitar sample, and I was having a lot of fun with that. And then life happened.
Life keeps happening to us. It is
Yes.
becoming rather frustrating lately.
Quite. In due time.
Hmm. And to all of our viewers and listeners out there, post in the comments what you do to be inspired and productive. Continue the conversations. And also respond to any of the other talking points and conversations we've had so far this episode. It's fun when people actually comment on the videos and continue the conversations. We enjoy talking to people. But in the meantime, onwards to the next segment. The highlights reel. Oh, that means I gotta go on screen share. And come on, stop doing that. Do that, and then push the button and do the thing with the other thing. There we go. So this came across basically every social media account I have this week. A lot of people are freaking out about Pluto's a planet again. Without
Again?
without
Get
fully
over it, people.
without fully reading the information available at the time. There was a discussion between various astrophysicists, I believe, and the public reception at the time was that Pluto should be considered a planet again. It is not
But it
official.
hasn't cleared its own orbit yet. It can't be.
It's working on it. It's taking the scenic route.
Yeah, in the middle of fucking Neptune's path. Hell out of there. Alright, sorry, continue. I'm getting distracted angrily.
No, I was just kind of amused that this is such a thing
You know,
lately for this week.
Going back to the mention of Mass Effect earlier, in the Mass Effect canon, Pluto is actually an artificially created anchor point, and its moon Charon is actually a frozen Mass Effect relay.
Still a planet, damn it.
You know what? I'm gonna blow up Pluto. That's the only answer.
According to the canon, the heat system on the Mass Effect relay malfunctioned, and so it froze over and turned into Charon, Pluto's moon. And that's why they circle each other and have the wonky orbit around the sun, because they were artificially placed there by ancient aliens.
I wonder what Neil deGrasse Tyson has to say about all this, because he was one of the biggest proponents of Pluto not being a planet.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see a current perspective on it, because one of their arguments was, what is the general public's perception of what is a planet? What is...
Who cares? Sorry.
People who appreciate Pluto care, apparently. Yeah, that was the news thing for the week that caught my eye. And just for fun, post in the comments, is Pluto a planet or not?
It's not. Get over it.
You didn't post it in the
My
comments, it
very
doesn't
eager
count.
mother just served us 9.
My updated mnemonic I made up myself was my very educated mother just served us nachos. That's nachos.
Nachos.
What does Sailor Pluto
I
think
know
of
what I
this?
mean this weekend now. Pluto chicken nachos.
Ooh.
Alright, enough about nachos. Onwards. Hey, it's a new month. So that means we can talk about upcoming releases again. And conveniently, there's a book for each week that caught my eye. So yay. And for our viewers and listeners, we just use the Barnes & Noble's coming soon list because it's the easiest to track down and peruse. But it looks like Rick Riordan is coming out with another book in the Percy Jackson universe. This is the sequel series. So the latest one is The Blood of Olympus is coming out next week, technically. I already finished the first series, and I've been meaning to pick up the second because it is a surprisingly well put together series, as long as you completely ignore the fact that they tried to make movies out of them. And there's various other books from various other genres coming out as well, depending on your preferences. And apparently a My Little Pony series that I didn't catch earlier.
Right.
Well, to each their own. The week of October 13th has two books that caught my eye. One, there's already a book on the rise of ISIS out. That was a pretty quick turnaround.
Of course, there's money to be made.
True. And the one that made me happy was the one all the way on the right by Garth Nix, Clariel, The Lost Abhorsen, or however you pronounce that. I sincerely hope this is part of the Sabriel series because that was one of my favorite trilogies ever. It was a fantastic little YA series, and if there is going to be more in that universe, I am all for it. And I may have to save up and get that. Because I don't have enough books already. Speaking of more books that I will have to get, the next week, October 20th, I'm actually kind of angry at myself that I didn't realize that Laini Taylor's trilogy is completely out, and they now have a boxed set of it. The first book, The Daughter of Smoke and Bone, is fantastic, and I demand that everyone goes and buys a copy of it and read it. The first book was fantastic, and the concept of their angels and demons and reincarnation and the power of bones was really intriguing. And I meant to pick up the other two books when they came out, but then I didn't. But now that there's a box set, I kind of have to. And apparently there's also the complete handbook on Minecraft coming out the same week. I'm curious what version of Minecraft that one is compiled for.
I like the cover.
It is nice. But even if it's for 1.8, I'm not sure how relevant that's going to remain going forward. Yeah. And to wrap up the month, George R.R. Martin is coming out with a new book. But it's just an expansion to the universe he's already created, not a next book in the series.
Because there's money to be made, damn it.
Yes. It is nice that he is expanding on the universe and kind of fleshing things out even more. I hope there aren't too many deaths in this book, considering it's supposed to kind of just be an expanded universe concept, but it is George R.R. Martin, so chances are there are going to be some sort of death or in there. And I'm also intrigued by the Anne Rice novel Prince Lestat coming out the same week, because you can never have enough Vampire Chronicles. And I'm going to completely ignore the fact that November is also on that list and coming up way too fast, because Nano.
Is that Bill Nye?
Looks like it.
You have to scroll down now.
Undeniable. Evolution and the Sigh.
And the Science of Creation, it looks like, by the cover.
It's Bill Nye the Science Guy. We gotta click on it. Undeniable. Evolution and the Science of Creation. And it's a signed edition.
Nice.
And only for $20. That's not
That's
bad.
doable.
But that doesn't come out till next month.
As well as the other one I saw on that list that caught my attention.
Going back. Which one?
Waistcoats and weaponry.
It's another signed copy. What's with all these signed copies on Barnes and Nobles? How is that a thing? It's the Finishing School Series number 3.
Oh, I think I've heard some of the stuff about this. It's pretty cool.
Hmm.
If it's what I think it is. Possibly not, but it sounds cool.
Well, we can look into it off air and talk about it next month because
Yes.
it doesn't come out till November.
November. We're getting ahead of ourselves by an entire month.
No spoilers yet. And we have one more highlight for the week. We have a publisher to talk about, which we've talked about in the past actually, but it is relevant for this week specifically because Turtle Duck Press is having a sale on all of their ebooks this week. All of their books are 99 cents. And they have a whole slew of different styles and novels and series and short stories and poems and whatnot. And Calvin may potentially remember who created their logo even.
Not ringing a bell.
This is the second time you've forgotten this.
That was a joke.
I wasn't looking at the screen, so. Still a good logo.
That's a fun one.
But yeah, all of their books from their various authors are 99 cents for the ebook versions. That includes the entire Dreamverse by K.D. Sarge, which is fantastical. And Kit, who we've had on our show a couple times around now. And I don't think we've had any of the other authors on yet. Sometime in the future. So yeah, definitely go check them out. Grab a couple copies of the books while they're on sale. I highly recommend it. You can never have too many books to read.
True. That is true.
And those are the highlights for this week. All the links are in the show notes on the website, fcwriters.com. It's on the homepage for this episode. You can just track it down, episode 61. And it's now time for creative prompts. I don't even need to look at the show notes, because it's the next tab. As always, we provide various creative prompts each week. We provide some one-liners, we provide some one-worders, we provide a combination of Rory's story cubes, and we're also doing musical and artistic prompts. Let's see. I'm just going to go down the list, or down the faces, so Calvin can get the one-liners.
Okay.
Justin has vanished, so Will gets the one-worders, and Justin will get the story cubes, presuming he comes back in time. And I'll take the second page as I do.
These are at an angle.
Justin makes a good point. They're not supposed to be at an angle.
I noticed that as well.
But
We apologize to all of our OCD viewers. To all of our listeners, you will never know.
It's not conforming to our previous episodes.
all right, but let us move forward with the one-line writing prompts. They are as follows. Can we steal an alpaca? That's my favorite. He is not my suitor. He's not even in a collared shirt. There's no way that this can be healthy. You can't draw that. It's on the do not draw list. The age of common sense died long ago. You need a backup parachute and life insurance. Bring it on. I'm just going to take a power nap. I'll catch up. And there's a salad in the fridge for you if you're hungry. And those are your very random one-line writing prompts for this week. More random than usual.
Only half of them were inspired by the Big E.
Ah,
Alright, so our one-word writing prompts this week are as follows. Llama, traffic, showers, dwarf, leaf, tin, fall, indestructible, adventure, leg. Those are your mostly monosyllabic one-word writing prompts this week.
Just the one leg. Don't know where the other one went to.
Yeah, it had an adventure to go on.
who wouldn't want an indestructible adventure leg?
Sounds like something that Sir Hammerlock would have.
I think he does.
Right, looks like Justin may still be having technical difficulties, so does anyone want to take on the tilted cubes? 3,
I'll
2.
do it.
Okay.
Alright, so the story cubes this week are it looks like a beaker that has been tilted just enough to allow the liquid contents to drip out. We have a fountain. We have a man parachuting down. We have a person who is either dropping or failing to catch a ball. He looks rather upset about it. We have an arrow that starts going up and then curves to the right. We have an extreme close-up on an eyeball. We have a cheap comic book explosion. Don't know. It's
kind of like the
Or,
representation of like a bubble popping.
yeah, like a bubble popping or a star. It's basically 8 hash marks in a circular pattern, all pointing towards the center. We have a representation of Moscow, perhaps. I don't know what those buildings are called, like those Russian palaces, and got the conical towers with the circular domed roofs on the top. And then we have Planet Earth, a view of Europe and Africa. Which is humorous because it's Europe who sings the song about Africa.
And scrolling down, the musical prompt for this week are 4 eighth notes, and they are A, B, B, A.
ABBA does not sing Africa.
But imagine if they did a cover.
Oh my.
And your artistic prompt for this week is to the county fair. And those are your creative prompts for this week. As always, if you happen to utilize any of these prompts, we would love to see the results. You can email us a copy or the URL where we can check it out via our email address, which is wordninja@fcwriters.com, conveniently located at the bottom of the creative prompts for easy reference. Oh, they changed the layout. Stop screen sharing. Okay. There we go. Google Hangouts keeps changing the layout of things.
Keeps us on our toes.
And that means it's now time for our weekly productivity highs and lows. We'll just go down the list of the show notes. My highs and lows for this week were, kicking things off with the high, it was the Big E, Eastern States Exposition, or Expo. I don't think it was Exposition. That would be silly. I actually managed to make it this year. I think it was the first time since first college.
How was it?
Pretty entertaining, although it took a silly amount of time to get there.
Traffic?
Yeah, and just a late start, but getting off the highway, it was a 50-minute drive to the parking lot. Yeah.
Wait, isn't it like a ridiculously winding road and like strange path to get to that stupid parking lot?
Slightly, yeah.
Oh yeah, just so you know, it is Eastern States Exposition.
Huh. Well, what do you know? Yeah, that was the high for my week, but that has been tempered by a ridiculous amount of Doom work at day job, and compounded with a lot of nano prep and schedule coordination and general flailing about. And another low to bring it down even more. No one will get the reference outside of the podcast, but I have been backsliding again because of all of this stress and Doom work and nonstop ridiculousness. And that is a definite low, and it's beginning to piss me off. So I'm hoping that next week I will have more highs than lows, and hopefully that will not be a repeat bullet point. It's not allowed. Onward to the next person.
Oh, hey, that's me. I suppose this is high. I'm still getting back into the swing of things for writing Roommate, as I said. Again, pencil and paper is my savior. And watching YouTube videos somehow helps. I don't know how that. Watching Let's Plays helps me write when I'm writing, but whatever, it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also posted
it's a strange source of inspiration.
Yeah, well, you know. I guess because it's enough to make background noise, but I don't have to pay full attention to it. I can just let it play and kind of pay attention to it while I write, so it kind of finds a nice balance and keeps me relaxed and entertained. And I don't stress out about trying to get the writing done. I also posted a teaser for the next chapter of Roommate online to satisfy all the people who read my story who keep going, hey, when's the next chapter coming out? You haven't updated in forever. I can finally go, here, look, I'm working. Go away. Thanks for reading. Please keep reading, but stop bugging me. And I don't know if this is a high or a low. I guess it's kind of a low because of the timing, but a new character for a completely unrelated story is knocking around in my brain, and he needs to go away. It's not his turn yet. So stories involving him are formulating, and he's not even a character for Roommate at all. So it's cool that, you know, character development is forming. It's just, why? No, go away. Come back later. So we'll go with that.
So I'm going to test my microphone briefly and see if people can hear me.
We can.
Hooray! While I'm talking, everyone gets to look at a picture of a beautiful flower that I took in Taiwan.
Quite a nice picture.
Thanks. I thought it came out pretty well. Anyways, on to my highs and lows. For those wondering, my Wi-Fi box died, not just the connection, the actual box. So I need to buy a new one, which I was going to do anyways. For my lows, or highs and lows, Work of Doom is incoming. That's going to be the next 2 months, and it basically pre-ruined Nano this year. I don't know if I'm going to have time to write even the title of a book, but that remains to be seen. I'm pretty nervous, excited, and disappointed all at the same time because this is not great timing, but it is going to prove my worth as a project manager, and if I can pull this all off, the company will make lots of money, and everyone will be happy, and if I don't pull this off, then everyone's going to be upset, and I'm going to be screwed. So I'm nervous, excited, disappointed. I think I can do it, and I'll keep you guys posted.
You can do it.
You can do it.
I'm also, something I can't really talk about, ironically, and I posted it here for some reason. I've been playing around with the Remember the Milk beta. I didn't really care for the Remember the Milk, which is a productivity app. You know, it's similar to, it's like a list-taking app. It's kind of hard to explain if you haven't been to it, but definitely check out Remember the Milk for all your list-making productivity needs. And I paid for a subscription, and I am in the actual beta. And the user interface, which I can't talk about, is way better, so I'm pretty happy about that. And the last high would probably be this last weekend and this weekend are going to be really good weekends for me because of the last couple weekends that I won't be working. So I had to take advantage of that. Last weekend I did a bunch of beer brewing and went to the Big E. And both of those events were really fun and got a lot done, got a lot of walking around exercising. I ate a 4-foot-long corn dog.
Nice.
And, oh no, sorry, 2 foot long. It wasn't 4 feet long. It was the size of 4 corn dogs.
Still awesome.
Yep. And, yeah, brewed 4 beers. Going to brew a couple more next weekend. And going to take the whole weekend off doing nothing this coming weekend because it's going to be the last chance I'm going to have time to myself. So no events, not going anywhere, just going to be relaxing. So that'll probably be my high for next week.
Sounds good. All right, apparently it is my turn. All right, so one high for the week was I finished all of the editing, all of the video editing. There was a total of 6 hours of footage that I ended up posting, editing and posting, but there had to have been at least an extra 2 hours, including stuff that got cut out and multiple camera angles. So that was a blast. Especially given the low I put down, I realized there is a very serious issue with this lovely new expensive laptop that like really set me back several hours during the video editing process. Apparently, when you're doing like heavy video editing, the video card decides to panic, to like basically do the equivalent of a kernel panic. Did that 6 times this past weekend. That was amazing. But at least if there's a high, there's a positive to that, and that it would be my second high. I remembered that I have 3 years of Apple Care. So I'm going to go to the Apple store next week and tell them to fix it. Because I swear to God, if I see that GPU panic window one more time, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to get myself in trouble.
I just imagine the GPU in your laptop actually going, "There's so much editing. I don't know what to do. I can't take it. Oh my goodness, I'm panicking." And then the little window comes up. Your GPU is panicking. Please calm down. Give it a moment to take a few deep breaths.
And looks like those are all the highs and lows for the group for this week. Hopefully next week there's more highs than lows across the board.
We'll see about that, given the weekend I have ahead of me.
And of course, for our viewers and listeners, you're more than welcome to post your own highs and lows for the weeks in regards to productivity. We would love to see how everyone else has been faring this week. Okay, events. Oh God, it's October.
Dun, dun,
October
dun.
The end of the month, October 31st to November 2nd, kicks off Rhode Island Comic Con in
Woo.
Rhode Island.
Yay!
And a majority of the crew is going to be attending there as vendors. And we better be press. I need to confirm that, considering all
Please
that
do.
we've done to get that in the works. And as Justin has put in here, on the 21st, him and myself are going to be doing a little NaNoWriMo 101 session at a local library. I don't believe we're recording it or anything, so it's mainly just going to be for our local peoples. But depending on how that goes, we may make an effort to do an actual recorded version for everyone else out there. And for those of you not familiar with NaNoWriMo yet, I'm surprised, considering who you're listening to. But NaNoWriMo is in November, the entire month of November, because that's National Novel Writing Month, which means 50,000 words in 30 days, or else. And everyone but Calvin is participating, unless we can finally convince him to join us. We
Not
have
this
been
year.
trying for many years now. One of
I'm
these
only
days we'll get him.
semi-participating this year. I'm not writing a whole new novel. Unless something comes up to me in the next, 4 weeks.
You
Which
know,
has happened in the past. That's what happened last year.
Mm. And those are the only events for the rest of this year. If you want to check out the show notes, we are already, good lord, starting to put stuff down for 2015. Yeah. It's too early for that. I mean, it's good that stuff is actually being confirmed, but good lord. That actually is everything we have for an episode, unless anyone has some parting comments that they'd like to use to wrap up the show. Yes, no, maybe?
Nah.
Nope.
Alrighty then. If we have entertained you in any way, shape, or form, we would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this, you've already found it, so that makes it nice and easy. But this is our main video hub, so you can watch, comment, and thumbs up all the various videos and shenanigans that we get up to. If you're listening to the audio version, you can just search for Full Coverage Writers in YouTube. If you're more for other social media outlets, we're on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. Twitter and Tumblr, it's FC Word Ninja. For Facebook, it's Full Coverage Writers. All of the links are on our main website, which is fcwriters.com. And if you want to help support some of our various future endeavors, like some audio recordings and convention attendance and whatnot, we do have an Etsy store that we encourage you to check out. We have all sorts of shiny baubles on there, from buttons and magnets to little plushy writer's block ninja cubes to some worksheets and more. So definitely go check it out. And as for all of us, we have our various places that you can track us down. For myself, the best place you can find me is Tumblr. My Tumblr is fancypantswolf.tumblr.com. You can also usually track me down as Makarov on the Fairy Tale Podcast, which is Monday nights on their YouTube channel. I have been absent for a couple of weeks now due to Doom work and whatnot, but I hope to make a return for this month before Nano kicks in. Then all bets are off. Because Nano. And let's see, next one up on the list is Will.
Like CJ, you can mostly find me on my Tumblr page. That's at darkhome.tumblr.com. Spelled D-A-R-H... No, D-A-R-K-H-O-M. A little
There you
brain
go.
fart there. K and an H are similar in appearance. Parkhom. Though a lot of the stuff I reblog is potentially not safe for work, it is tagged NSFW, though, so if you have content blockers, you can just blog that. Set that up for NSFW blockage, and you should be fine. But if you want to get in contact with me, that's probably the best place to find me.
And next up is Justin, if his mic plays nice.
Yes, so and I'll make this short and quick. As I alluded to last weekend, or last podcast, I'm going through a account transition phase. I'm just about done. Should be finished up this weekend, so I'll have plenty of new cool stuff to pimp out then. So look forward to that. And tune in next week.
And closing out the show is Calvin.
All right. I've been laying relatively low these days, but you can still see some sliver of activity from my Tumblr page. It says instacal.tumblr.com, and Twitter and Instagram, which is at @ccwii.
And with that wraps up episode 61 of Word Ninjas Live. Thank you all for joining us and tuning in. As we mentioned before, post in the comments, continue our conversations. We do get notifications of such, and we will respond accordingly. Please talk to us. We don't bite. We swear. At least not on air.
Oh, only if you want us to.
You have to ask nicely.
Yes.
And with that, until next week, everyone, have a good night.
Able to garner X amount of readers, we would actually acquire and publish. We found this model was really restricting to us, and it wasn't necessarily what the industry needed at this point in time. We wanted to open our doors to work with, other publishers, other industry professionals, and a platform where we were the publisher is really restricting to that. So in July of 2012, we revamped our platform to be the crowdfunding platform it is now. So we have a lot of independent authors that come to us to raise funds for their publishing project. We actually have pages dedicated to publishers where they can kind of create a community around their books and use either the crowdfunding or the pre-order options to employ that pre-publication marketing. We work with industry professionals. We kind of are working to build a community and bridge the gap between all the key industry players. And so our pre-order option is actually a new option as well that we just came out with this month. So we're very excited about that. So it's kind of, I think just the whole concept of being in such a changing industry and being with a platform that we're kind of paving the way. Not many other platforms offer what we offer, and we're really able to work one-on-one with our authors, provide them with personalized service, really ensure that they have all the tools they need to succeed, not only on our platform, but in the industry in general. And just kind of being a part of an evolving platform that really is seeking out to be that go-to place and trying to find the holes in the industry, perhaps before other people even know that they're there, and adapting in order to fill those needs. It's a really, really exciting job, and I think publishing in general is a really exciting industry to be in. And so the whole, I think I might be deviating from the question, but I just think that the whole experience that I've had working at Pubslush has been great. And we take feedback from authors and publishers very seriously. We continue to grow. We continue to provide them with services that we think are very valuable to them. And it's just, it's nice to be kind of that sold books and moving into the publication phase with more confidence in yourself and your book, and being a part of that transition and that process is also something really, really cool that we experience. We're lucky enough to experience weekly with our authors. So it's great to be that kind of that turning point in the publishing process for them, where we can help them transition from not being sure what the next step is to like solidly knowing this is where I'm going. This is this is my publishing path, and it's really cool to be a part of that.
Nice.
How much has your social community grown in the last couple of years?
Oh, it's grown a lot. I would say even in the past year, since the beginning of 2014, I think we've seen the most growth. We just broke 10,000 followers on Twitter, which was like, we were all jumping up and down in the office. It was actually probably really embarrassing. But you know, our page views have grown exponentially, and the members of our community continue to really, really grow rapidly. And you know, everything that we're doing, we do organically, which I think is why, you know, every milestone is so big to me and my team, because it's all work that we've done, and made the connections in the industry, and we have put in the work to see those numbers grow, and they continue to grow really quickly. Our community is growing fast, so it's an exciting time.
How do your patrons have any access to communicating with the authors specifically? Absolutely.
Every campaign page, and the same is true for our partner or publisher pages, have an engage wall, and we're actually working on the functionality of that to make it even more engaging, if you will. But yeah, you can talk to the author can talk back to you. We're putting in, you know, functionality where you'll get notifications when there's new things on the engage wall and things of that nature, but you can absolutely correspond with the author. I think that's one of the biggest benefits of our platform, is in the traditional marketplace, there's really no way for the author and reader to communicate. I mean, social media, of course, is a great tool, but in regards to the actual interaction and book buying, there's no interaction between the author. Basically, it's a way for them to really market their book, drive traffic to their book, and talk about their book all before it's published. So you're building that momentum that's needed, that, you know, day one when your book's released, if you already have X amount of readers, you're kind of ahead in the book market. And then we also recently developed another option which just allows any published author to come on our platform and create a for sale page for their book. And it's an absolutely free option, and it basically just is a way for you to be discovered by our readers and hopefully drive traffic to the sale of your book as well.
I'm still muted. There we go. I keep forgetting that.
Oh, sorry. I couldn't hear you for a second there.
Yeah, I had the mute button on.
Okay.
I keep forgetting that that's a thing.
I can hear you now, so.
Hooray. One of these days I'll remember that stupid thing.
I'll just wave next time, so you know.
I think the others have gotten kind of used to it at this point.
Yeah, good thing there's not a red blinking light when it's on mute.
Yeah.
They should really install one.
Talk to Google about that. So that's kind of the rundown of the basics of Pubslush. So, you know, we basically operate before authors publish. We also, you know, authors who do use our platform in the pre-publication phase remain part of our community and are automatically switched to that for sale page I discussed. So when you actually do publish, our readers can, if they find your project after the crowdfunding or pre-order campaign is over, they can still be driven to where your book's being sold and buy your book and discover your book that way.
Cool. And the next question we had up was, what are some of your more memorable or noteworthy experiences while working at Pubslush? Because it sounds like a pretty interesting job.
So this is a good one, actually. We have been a company for 3 years now, and I have been working for Pubslush since the beginning. And so we were a vastly different platform originally. Our original model was more of a crowdsourcing model, where in the end we were the publisher. So it was, you know, books that were a platform where we're helping other.
I'm going to ask for just a quick pause. My audio is cutting out. Is that just on my end or anyone else's?
I'm getting it too.
Same here.
Okay.
Yeah, let's let Google catch up on their server side. I thought it was my Skype usage and bandwidth issues. I'm going to quit Skype and hopefully open that up.
Every once in a while, Google gets a little tired. Just needs a second to catch up.
It's been a long day for Google. I mean, it's a Wednesday.
We were just talking about that before. We're getting over the hump today.
I barely got over it today.
Well, you're here. You made it, so
Yes.
that's a plus.
Everything's coming back clear on my end.
Yep, looks like we're good for now.
Yay.
I listened to a couple other podcasts that are through Google Plus, and they have all the same issues that we have. So
That is not just us.
it's a platform problem, not a quality problem.
So do you need me to recap what I said? Was it coming through fuzzy or?
I personally missed the last sentence or two from what you said.
Oh boy, this is a test. I believe what I was saying was how Pubslush we're very hands-on and we've had a lot of experiences with authors who come to us maybe not quite knowing what they're doing or not unsure if Pubslush is the right platform for them or unsure of how to exactly execute their campaign with Pubslush, and by the end they're like super successful and really feeling confident about their book and moving forward at lightning speed and being able to help that transition between like kind of confused and not knowing where to go to having a really solid understanding of your audience and having.
And then oh, hey, it worked. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 61 of Word Ninjas Live. We are coming to you tonight with another special guest interview. This time round is Justine Schofield from Pubslush.
Hello, everybody. Very happy I could be here tonight.
We're glad that you could join us and that your schedule worked out after we changed everything around on you.
I'm flexible, not a problem.
And as I forgot to mention, I am Charles, your instigator of literary productivity and insanity and whatever else is needed at the time. And our regular co-hosts, we pretty much have the full crew tonight. Will.
Hello.
Justin.
I too am here.
And Calvin.
Hello.
Ed is not joining us because he is being responsible and working. But everyone else is here, so we're going to have a show. And as we do, we're going to kick things off with an interview. And as we mentioned, Justine is from an organization called Pubslush. Now, for those of you that have not heard of it before, let's find out, what is Pubslush all about?
Right. So Pubslush is actually a pre-publication platform for authors and publishers. We provide them with several different options depending on what their goals and needs are. And it all takes place before they actually publish. So we have one option is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is basically a way that you can raise funds for your publishing project by raising many small amounts of money from a large number of people. Crowdfunding is become very popular. The industry is booming, and we are specialized because we are a niche platform that we focus just on literary and publishing projects. Another option that we have for authors who aren't necessarily interested in raising funds but want to take advantage of all the other benefits of marketing before publication is a pre-order option. This operates in the 30 to 60-day window before publication, and it's basically a way that authors and publishers can sell books before the release date.